very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Rejuvenate Edition 5, Day 2. I've got a very special guest here with me today, an ex-former national badminton player. She's also now a sports psychologist, she's an educator, she's a keynote speaker, she's also a head coach of a badminton academy, which we will talk about in a short while. Welcome, Daphne. How are you?
I'm good. Hi, Andrew.
Great, good. It's a beautiful day to kickstart Rejuvenate Edition 5, Day 2, and we're so happy to have you here today, to talk about one of the sports that Malaysians love the most, which is badminton.
Yes, badminton.
Now, I'm just going to very quickly get into it. Obviously, I've given a little glimpse of what you are, who you are, and what you've been doing, and of course, what you're also doing right now, currently. But you know what? I would prefer if you would, share a little bit more about who you are, Daphne. So please go ahead.
Oh, yes. So if people that they know me, they will know that I love badminton, and I love badminton since I'm really young. And so my dad introduced this sport with me, like how a lot of Malaysian kids, we used to play with our dad across the gate.
Right,
and
that's right.
I think I followed one of your sessions yesterday with the Zulaikha, the golf player. And you said the badminton is one of the easiest game to play. You just play across the gate with anyone. Yeah. So that's how my dad actually introduced me the sport. And after that, I like it, and I had the opportunity to actually watch Dato' Nicole David winning the World Junior Championship in Penang. So I'm fortunate enough to study in the same school with her. So when we were in school, so they give us actually free tickets to support her, and that's where I was so encouraged and inspired by her. And I saw her winning the World Junior Championship in Penang. Back then, the time I was, I think, 10 years old. So since then, I told my dad, I really want to excel in sports and I want to be like Nicole David. And actually, I think if you have seen before, there's actually an article that a reporter interviewed me. And I said, Nicole will be my inspiration, but mine is the badminton version. So when I was 17, I was selected in the nationals, and I was selected in the nationals, and that's where I developed my skills further. And I think it's quite interesting in this whole journey of sports. And today, with this experience and having the opportunity to grow with sports, I always believe in giving back to the community, share my experience and also what I'm really passionate about to them so that they have the opportunity to enjoy it as well.
Yeah. Now, before we go any further, since we are talking about your journey in terms of playing, do you recall your first badminton racket?
Oh, my dad's Carlton's racket.
Carlton, yes, I remember that brand. I used to have a Carlton racket as well.
Yeah, it's like steel, it's like the center there, it's like steel. Yeah, and it's so heavy.
I was just going to say it's really heavy. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, so so first badminton racket, Carlton. Do you remember the first tournament you participated in, or competition that you participated in?
Yes, it's MSSPP, I think, the school inter-school tournament. Yeah, so I represent my school and I got trashed.
Well, the first cut is always the deepest, they say, but that's how you improve from then on, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, of course, playing badminton, for the country. Obviously, opportunity back then, pre-pandemic times, of course, plenty of opportunity for you to travel around the world and whatnot. Any recollection of fond memories of your favorite tournament, or particularly a tournament that you look forward to in the calendar year every time?
Yeah, so actually one of the most memorable event is actually this game called World Women Islamic Game. It was held in Iran. And I think it gives me a very significant experience because basically the whole game is all women. And in Iran, we actually have to cover ourselves with a scarf as soon as we get down from the plane.
Correct.
And everywhere we go, you have to, of course, cover up. And before we enter the competition hall, they will actually scan through and make sure that we don't have like anything that can record, like, back then it's like 2005, so 15 years back, yeah, that, they really, how to say it, like, make sure that everything, cause like for Islamic women, like in that tournament, it's all women, right? So they can actually don't have to cover up when the whole hall is all women.
Right, right.
Yeah, so it's actually a very good experience, to play in that tournament.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
And once you shifted from playing, you did you transition immediately into coaching, or did you have a break from badminton and thought to yourself, I need to get myself out of badminton for a while and not think about badminton for a while, or you already had that in mind while you were still playing and said, one day I really want to be a coach for badminton?
I've always loved the sport, and I wanted to play on, but then I got injured. I had my Achilles tendon snap during a competition, and I went for surgery, and I tried to make a comeback, but I can't go back to my previous form, and that's where I furthered my studies while doing my rehabilitation in University of Malaya. So I studied sports science, and that's where I discovered even more knowledge which I hope I knew back then as a player, which is applicable. Yeah.
Now, you brought up a very good point here. You had obviously wished that you had those knowledge while you were a player, right? So I'm sure then, in a way, that would have influenced you to perhaps go on a better path, perhaps. With that, having said that now, do you think that current players or even the young up-and-coming one, is there enough being done to then now feed them with those kind of knowledge that you yourself now think that you should have had before?
There's always a lot of room to improve in that area. So like sports science is applicable not only in the performance. That means a lot of us thought that like proper nutrition, sports psychology, like what Dr. Rebecca shared yesterday, it's not only for elite athletes, but basically it's important because we need time to grow. It's not like magic. It's like, okay, I have fear during competition, and I share with you some breathing techniques, and overnight you can, I'm not afraid anymore. It doesn't work that way. So yeah, so it's just like how technical skills is built, how tacticals are learned, and how physical you need time to build your muscles every day. Yeah, so it really takes time to have the knowledge, apply it, and so that during competition you're able to use it and it works at that time. So competition is like just that moment. If you can remain calm during that moment and you can execute that shot fantastically, you get a point. Like that championship is yours. Yeah.
Now, you then bring up another good point again, and of course, throughout day one of Rejuvenate Edition 5, I've also spoken about this with several of my guests, which brings to the point, yes, I totally agree with you. It takes time to build this kind of thing. It takes time to inculcate into children the mindset, the growth mindset, the winning kind of a mindset. And you talked about nutrition and whatnot, which we know Malaysians are very poor when it comes to nutrition, right? We've got one of the highest obesity.
Too good food.
Yes, exactly. We've got too good food. We've got food easily accessible at any hour of the day.
Yes.
Pre-pandemic times, of course. Now we have got SOPs put in place, but you are rightly, it's right what you said. Having said that, because it requires time for you to build this sort of culture into children or even adults per se, or youths, should it not then be something that is taught in school right now? As in, I guess a more fundamental, basic kind of sports science.
Yep.
Just like how I always also want to advocate financial literacy in that sense, right? To teach kids how to manage their money and whatnot.
Yep.
Sports science, what do you think? There should be a synergy in terms of KBS and MOE coming together and say, let's revamp a little bit of this PJK that we have, you know, like I was just saying yesterday as well, PJK time, we all run out of class, we go to the football field and we just play football. That's it. There is no knowledge in terms of learning what is fitness, what is wellness, what is nutrition and stuff like that. You know, I've not been in school for a long time, but I do hope that has changed, but I doubt so that anything has changed in that sense. What are your thoughts on this?
I definitely agree. I mean, even if we can't have it on a weekly basis, but a workshop probably will be good to, spread awareness, telling kids and start them young, like how you say that the importance of saving money, the value of money, and, it's always good to educate children when they are young and they have that in mind. So it's the same of how you build, like, for example, mental toughness. So if you don't give them examples, let them try, go through the hardship of it, then they are unable to build the resilience in them. So it's like sports have a lot of values, but you have to take time to develop their skill, the patience that you have to go through, the hardship of having body aches, the enjoyment with friends, and everything accumulates together, and that's how sports can bring you the value. It's not of like, I'm sending my son for a year, if he don't have talent, I'm taking him off. I think sports is somehow a journey, but I do get that a lot, like a lot of questions of how come my son, after training 1 year, he's still not developing it fast enough, his friends at the same age are way better than him. I mean, kids grow in different levels, they all have strengths and weaknesses, and we have to know some of them, they start slow, but in the midst of it, they actually pick up faster and overtake their friends. We never know, but then over the years, we have actually seen the growth of kids. And we can see that some kids start slow, but they pick up later. And some kids learn fast and they slow down or stagnant at a certain age.
Correct. Yeah. So I think this is a very common Asian parenting thing, I suppose. We always tend to make comparison in that sense, whereas literally the comparison should be the person in the mirror, right? Because, you talked about progression and all that. They will be progress on that particular individual and it shouldn't be compared. So it's just like how you put in popcorn into the pot, right? They all cook at the same place at the same time, but when they pop out as a popcorn, they all look different, Yeah, so exactly, I totally agree with you. Now, when it comes to playing or being a player, you mentioned just now your first ever tournament, you got trashed, and obviously it was a big loss in that sense. Modern day players, I think when it comes to badminton, we all know where the disappointments are in terms of our national players. It's always at the final hurdle. I was just talking to Dr. Rebecca yesterday. 2016 was the best year for us in Olympics, right? We had 3 finals, literally, and 3 opportunities to win the gold medal, the elusive gold medal. Yet we came back with 3 silver. I suppose, very superficial of me to ask this, but where do you think it went wrong? It always seems like it's always the last hurdle, and even for badminton in that sense, it always seems to be the rubber set. Every time a match goes into a rubber set, you can see a lot of Malaysians, whether it's on the WhatsApp chat group or anywhere else, they'll surely say, that's it, habis, pancit already, no more gas. Unlikely to win now. Why is that being so closely associated to Malaysian badminton players?
Yeah, okay. So let me ask you a culture. So if it happens to a Japanese player, hey, Robert said, what are your chances? What is your bet on Japanese players?
I would probably think he will win it.
I see. But yeah, so you see, like Malaysian, so the culture is always like we are very skillful, right? So we win points from skills and our strategies and tactics. So this is our strength. So fitness, not that we got no fitness, but comparatively our fitness is lower than Japanese players, for example. Yeah. And for the mindset, psychologically, a Westerner's mindset, Victor Axelsen is an excellent example. Yeah, his mind and mentality is very, very strong. when he even walked into the court, like Lindan and Lee Chong Wei, I think they always compare these two athletes.
Yep.
So Lindan walks in like a tiger, and you know his way of like walking tall, straight, and like already a champion. Yeah. So that also plays a role. And so during competition, like you said, like during the final, I know it was a really kind of wasted kind of opportunity in the finals. We were so close yet so far. We had 3 opportunities. I think the men's doubles was the closest to actually win the first gold medal for Malaysia.
Yes.
But eventually, again, everything comes in at the right timing. We need a little bit of luck, really, because of that serve. It's everything relates to one another. So if he was calm enough and the right timing, then I think experience comes in a lot during that time. And because actually in the world stage, it's anyone's game. Anybody can upset anybody, especially in the Olympics where everybody wanted it so much. And that's why many times it happens that top seed don't win the Olympic gold medal because of the pressure that they are carrying and how much they really, really want to win that medal, and knowing that they have that opportunity to win it because they are already there. But actually, I think today's badminton is very competitive across the world. Anyone, even that day, a Guatemala guy can enter for semifinals. Yeah. So everybody is actually anybody's game, and they have to be in their full perfect condition to win a match. Actually, you should take a match at a time. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned preparing the athlete and whatnot, and obviously I know for a fact that you were involved in the SEA Games where you were kind of attached to the esports team. And obviously we won our first gold medal in esports in Manila, if I'm not mistaken, right? In the game Hearthstone. Now, can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, so I think 2 months before the SEA Games in Manila, so the manager, Gary, actually wrote to me and said he needs support in mentally. Yeah, so so how do I actually get involved in why do I further my studies in psychology, sports psychology? So I did my master's in sports psychology. And the reason why I do that is because in 2014, I was a coach for a team event. And in the grouping, so this player actually won easily, the opponent easily. But in the playoffs, she basically shook in the court. She kept crying. She can't control her fear and also her nervousness, her anxiety. And she, of course, whatever I say, she can't take in anymore because she's not herself. She's not herself. It's an easy game in the group stage, but in the playoffs, when her point is so important to win a ranking or a medal, then she just choked and she can't do anything. And she just lost terribly in that game, and we lost. So I'm a coach and I'm seated behind. I can't help in any way. I can't tell anything. I really can't do anything. I can't. And when during halftime she comes out, she just keep crying. And so I decided that I should further my knowledge in this area and to help athletes to bring out their talent and their talent best so that they are a well-built player in every aspect. So you see, physical is very important, right? Like they are physically strong and technical, everything they have. But during that game, that set, they just choke and they can't control themselves. Everything don't work. Breathing techniques don't work because they are not well trained before that. And when you want to execute it, you can't. You don't have that ability to use it. So that makes me further my studies in sports psychology on visualization. So my study is about imagery, the effects of visualization on sports performance. Right. So 2 months before, okay, so back to this esports team, right? SEA Games, yeah. So they actually asked for my help to help Dr. Yu. Dr. Yu was the gold medalist and the first Malaysian gold medalist for SEA Games esports. So they organized a workshop and I had a 2-hour session with them. And after that, I make them believe in one another. That means the coach and the player, they both have to believe in one another. The importance of self-belief is so important that you have to first like believe in your ability to win, and then after that, cause you have to trust your coach also to help you to win. That means it's teamwork also plays a big role in that. And after that, when they were in Manila, we also had calls, and I was with them throughout the whole session until he won the medal, and it's really nice to celebrate his victory with him. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yes, the win by Dr. Yu is obviously a big milestone for us as well, because
In
at
esports.
that particular time, esports was really booming in Malaysia, and it's still booming, not just here but globally as well. So we obviously hope that in the next coming games, whether or not esports is included as part of the competition, we are hoping to see more medals in that sense. So fantastic job, Daphne. The nation is obviously, we owe you one. Having said that, we owe you a Milo Ice. Now, coming to Milo Ice, you are also an ambassador for Milo, Jom Aktifkan Negaraku, if I'm not mistaken, and also Milo Fiber Plus. Now, perhaps just share with us a little bit what is your role as an ambassador in that sense, and what is the kind of message it's trying to portray to the its target audience or whatever not.
Yeah, so as we all know, Milo is very supportive to youth sports. So when I was growing up, I think similar with you, we are all hoping for the Milo truck, and we can get that chilled Milo. That chilled glass of Milo is like the world to us. But then I'm not sure if today's kids feel the same. Probably a phone will mean the world to them. But a chilled cup of Milo is like, whoa, everyone will just queue, or even long queue, so we will just patiently queue for that Abang Milo to give us that cup of Milo. Correct. So I think Milo has been very supportive to youth sports and development of sports in Malaysia. And we actually work with them in some youth badminton development programs. We have our Milo coaching clinic every year. And this opportunity actually came to me when they were looking for a sports talent to be featured on their Milo truck. So the Milo truck, you can also see me on it doing my jumping smash. Yeah. So they are looking for a talent that can inspire others to also pick up sports and excel in sports. And of course, they are always sharing about the values of sports and sports is a great teacher. Yeah, so this is the whole concept which Milo wants to bring to the people and the community. So after that one experience being featured on the Milo truck, then they actually move on from there, and they also asked me to feature on the billboard. So I think along Federal Highway, you can see just right before the turning to Subang Jaya, there's a billboard doing a jumping smash also. And they just felt that, they said, oh, it's very energetic, and we can feel your energy and your love for the sport. And so they move on from there again. And that's how we actually have it on the Milo fiber packaging as well. Yeah.
Nice. Now, anytime I run out of Milo from now on, I know who to call. Now, you mentioned a good point here about passion, the word passion, right? And, of course, you also watched the session with Zulaikha and Zulaikha's parents yesterday. Of course, Nash, the dad, did mention that, if your child has the passion to do it, go ahead and encourage that child as much as possible to pursue sports as a career, for example. You then earlier mentioned a lot of times parents come and ask you, my kid has been training for a year, but I don't see improvement. Why is he still not as good as the other boy or the other girl, etc., etc.? How can we, I suppose, listen to the child and maybe the child has got no passion to play. That's probably one, or maybe that the child's passion could change over time, right? Because as a child, my boy will tell me one day he wants to be an astronaut, the next day he tells me he wants to be a soldier, and then of course of late my boy has been telling me he wants to become a YouTuber. So you know, a child's passion or you know, or interest per se changes over time. How can we, I suppose, change that mindset, maybe on the parents' perspective, as well as how do we manage this then? When you know for a fact, if you've spoken to the child and the child said, you know, Coach Daphne, I'm really not keen to play on, but I play on because my parents wants me to play on. How do you balance that and manage that? Or you know, if personally you have experienced something like that before, that you perhaps can share with us a little.
Yeah, I mean, like for kids, I always believe that kids should be exposed to different sports, firstly, because every kid has different talent in it. Some they are better in close sport, some they are better in open skill sport. And of course, we will enjoy doing what we do when there's fun. So I always believe that the start to sports has to be fun for kids to enjoy it. And then when they enjoy it and they find it exciting, then they will actually look for ways to improve on later. And like you see in academic, right, if they are good in maths, you ask them and they will say that my favorite subject is maths. Definitely. Yeah, so you actually like what you are good at. Yeah, so that's the first point that is very important, which parents have to be aware, not achieving the parents' goal, but knowing and understand what is the kid good at and trying to help them to pursue in their dreams. Because you see, if you keep forcing them, but of course, if you don't push them, you know, kids are just 9 years old or 10 years old or 12 years old, they don't really know much. They definitely ask them, I just want to stay at home and play with my gadget. That's the best thing. But but then we need to push them a bit and follow up and see or speak to the coach and see is there any way to change the training program, and the coach can speak to the kid as well and hear from the kid directly. Because sometimes parents and kid, it can be a little bit difficult for the kid to express what they think, or they always tend to be a bit manja with the parents. So sometimes we don't encourage parents to actually sit around during the kids training, because then kids will things that they are able to do, they will not do, because then parents will feel like, oh, very hard lah, my kids train already, like samtong lah. Yeah, no, don't push them so hard. Like, but in sports, no, you want to, you know, there's only one champion, and you really have to push really hard, and it takes time to actually build or learn or expert in a skill or have that expertise skill in that skill. So you see, I think there's a lot of people sharing that you need 10,000 hours of training to excel in one skill or in anything, not just sports, but music, art, whatever. You need to have practice, deliberate practice on a daily basis with discipline, with passion. And I think with creativity is very important today. So back then when we train, we are just like keep on pushing hard. Yes. Every day training is very hard. No mercy, push until you cannot walk, until you crawl. Yeah. You know? So that was what we gone through and we went through last time. But today, I think with data, you know, like sports technology, sports science, with data, we can actually not shortcut, but train in a wiser way. There's no shortcut in anything you do, definitely no. And you think that you have that knowledge, other people everywhere in the world also have. So it's getting very competitive. And if you don't keep yourself up to that trend or to follow and to train wiser and smarter and reduce the chances of injuries, then you will lose out. It is really competitive in today's settings. Yeah.
Now, we've spoken a lot about children. Of course, you are also a head coach and founder of Duo Spark. Maybe just give us a quick description of what Duo Spark is before, obviously I have a video to play as well, and then we can continue on to that conversation. So please let us know what is Duo Sparks.
Right, so Duo Sparks is a badminton academy. We are located in KL, Klang Valley and Selangor. So it was actually founded by myself and my former roommate in the national team, Sabrina. She was a mixed doubles player. So when she was about to, I came out first from the nationals and I furthered my studies in but then she came out later. So in the year 2012, when she was about to come out, then she's just asking me over a meal, do you want to start a badminton academy? Because she knows I really love badminton. And so that's how we got it. And the interesting thing is I actually turned my assignment in uni to a proposal. So that was, I was in my final year in uni, and that's how we just kick off. It happened quite quick, and we both are still enjoying it, even though this is our 9th year operating our academy. Wow. We enjoy seeing kids grow. We enjoy seeing them enjoy badminton, and also today some of the players which we coached them during our first year in 2012, they are back helping us to coach in our academy.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so we actually groom them from beginner. That means right from not able to hit any shots, like you can throw 20 shuttles, 18 on the floor, or maybe none being hit at all, until they are in the nationals. We groom them stage by stage, and we are feeders to the state and national team. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so before we continue on to that conversation, I want to play a highlight video of Duo Spark Academy. So ladies and gentlemen, please stay tuned.
We all grew up with dreams, ambitions, aspirations. It is so important to chase, to fight, to persevere our goals. Welcome to Duo Sparks Badminton Training Centre. We are based in Kuala Lumpur, and we are here to guide you to bring out the best in you in badminton.
Wow. I am already sweating looking at that video because it doesn't look simple at all, Daphne. I mean, that's really, proper badminton training per se. Wow.
Yeah, I think it's important, not only in badminton, but also as a person, as an individual. It's not too late for you to sign up still. You can join the kids for training.
Interesting you brought that up. I think I may actually sign my kid up for it because he's 8 years old and I mean the father is to be blamed, of course, but I think he can hardly hit the shuttlecock, to be honest. We've been in lockdown for such a long time, and the idea that people think that being locked down and at home you have all the time in the world, but to be honest, half the day is gone because they are on online classes and whatnot, and to me that is just very troublesome, to be honest, to see that the child is less active in that sense, just like what you say, between a Milo truck and that cold chilled Milo, they would rather have their smartphone, to be for example.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, Duo Sparks, I obviously heard you mention 9 years ago you and Sabrina started it, obviously through a university assignment, which you then turned into a business proposal. Amazing. Where is it located in KL exactly?
So our center is at Challenger Sports Center, PJ.
Challenger Sports Center.
Yeah,
PJ.
Along Professor Kuke Kim, Jalan Professor Kuke Kim. I think they just changed the road name.
Yes,
yeah.
Correct. Very familiar with that place. So ladies and gentlemen, if you want to find out more about Duo Sparks, you will be able to find the Facebook details and whatnot on the rejuvenatemy.com platform under the speaker profile of Daphne, and you will be able to see ways to get in touch with her there as well, right? So and in any case, the academy is located at Challenger Center in PJ. Now, what is your student size currently? Of course, let's talk about what age group do you coach, right? Is it just only purely kids, or do you have other age groups? And what's your total number of students basically?
Yeah, so we actually have different programs. So we offer private and also group training. And for beginners, we take students as young as 5 to 6 years old, up to 60 years old.
Wow.
So we have adults class as well. And we also do corporate coaching. We are coaching like companies like Top Glove, and previously we have Roche Pharmaceutical Company. So, corporate, in the corporate sector, we also have corporate athletes. So, sports is a journey and it can be enjoyed by everybody. So don't worry about your age like Andrew. You can just join us also.
No, I'm not worried about the age. I'm worried about the knees, and the ankle from all the previous injuries that, that has been left unattended. Okay.
Yeah, so we actually have proper program that we will
Nice.
first introduce the sport to you. So we focus a lot on motor learning and coordination training, and slowly we'll teach them skills. And I always believe in positive reinforcement. That means to keep encouraging kids, because certain kids, they are not that agile. They don't run that fast, and we shouldn't let them have that low esteem confidence in them where, oh, I don't think I can run and that's not my thing. And if you don't build and encourage them, then they will slowly be out of the sports scene because they feel that they are always losing to their friends, and it is not healthy. So it is important to also coach kids the values of it, of like stronger players should help the weaker players. So in our academy, we actually emphasize a lot on all this. And through our programs, we have successfully coach and bring up quite a number of players to the state team and also the national team. And also, even those that did not make it to the school, state or national team, they are still training with us because they enjoy the community and the friends in our club. Yeah.
Now, obviously, you mentioned about the age group and whatnot. Any idea off the top of your head, what is your largest group of students or charges? As in, how many of them do you have, like 50 or more students in one particular age group?
So we usually have different timings, and we actually have, we don't have very big groups because they won't be able to train that much. And the longer they wait for their turn to hit a shuttle, the chances of them losing the passion or interest in sport will be quite high because I mean, today, right, and back then it's very different. Today, our patients have actually reduced all thanks to the technology. Google, you can search anything without even going through the dictionary, finding word for word, just a type. Yeah, so everybody's patient is actually reduced. So we have small group training. So maximum we take up to 1 coach to 8 players, small group. And it's also better also in today's setting with the SOPs and to also make sure that kids really benefit from that entire session at a good training fee rate that we can cover our costs as well. Yeah.
Now, I noticed from the video, obviously those were physical classes in the actual center and whatnot, and I'm sure the video was done prior to the pandemic. How has it been during the pandemic, and have you all started classes again now?
Yes, we have resumed our classes a month ago, and the number of students are slowly coming back, slowly but steadily, and we are also quite conscious about their safety. And I think the secondary school students are now all receiving their vaccination. So after vaccination, they are taking 2 weeks break, which we are totally fine with, and it's very happy. We are good with that because it's good that they get vaccinated. So it's only left with the kids below 12 years old. They can join the training, but their parents have to bring them there because we need to scan their MySejahtera details.
So it's good that in a way things are getting back to normal, obviously. During the lockdowns, obviously 0 classes has been going on. How has DuoSpark changed, I suppose, or what did you guys do differently? Were there online lessons? Did you conduct live virtual, be it Zoom or Google Meet or Microsoft Teams classes where the kid at home can actually do a bit of leg work, shadow work, or whatever you call it? Was there anything like that?
Yeah. So during the lockdown, we had 5 times a week training online, and we also trained with the resistant band. So the challenge with virtual training is we can't really gauge their level that they push themselves. So the intensity, we can give them that intensity, but in another, if you think of the consequences of it and the pro of it, as in you actually build a smarter player. That means the player has to be aware of themselves. They know when they have pushed themselves hard enough. They know how to push themselves, and it builds them to be a wiser player, which is also important because I think being an Asian, a lot of times we are being spoon-fed by people. That means the coach push you, then you go, and then if the coach don't look at you, then it's like, oh, let's take a little rest. Let's take a little rest. Not that you don't train, a little rest. Yeah. So I think virtual training, we actually look into a lot of different things that on ground training you actually probably missed out, like the tactical games. We watch Olympics highlights together and share with them why these players are doing these sort of things.
Nice.
And yeah, so there are actually different things that we actually don't do during when physical class is back. So, and the little things of like changing a habit. So it takes time to change a habit. And during court, we only want to win a game or we want to execute a good shot. And if we change a habit, it takes time to actually change to a new habit. So during the lockdown, we correct the skills and ask them to look at the mirror or record a video of themselves to change that habit. And we can actually see progress in them when they come back to court. Yeah, so not that bad. It's actually quite good because probably if we don't have this virtual training, they won't have that patience to change that bad habits, and they will probably just be stagnant at that level because you have to change to develop and move on even further rather than being comfortable with what skills you have and the bad habits that you have developed earlier.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, I also noticed that during the pandemic, during the lockdown, you did conduct some badminton clinics for MPH as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that going to be a long-term collaboration between them, or was that just something of a one-off?
Yes, we have been. I collaborated with Learning Paul. Learning Paul is a subsidiary under MPH. It's their digital platform for under MPH, Learning Paul. And we have conducted, I think, almost 8 classes. Yeah, so we do it every 2 weeks. But then now that badminton is always best practice on ground. So we are aiming for once a month to still go on. And the best thing about online training or virtual training is the reach out is to everyone in Malaysia. And even I have participants from Philippines and Thailand joining us during this virtual sharing. So I think it's a good thing, like what we did with Milo e-coaching. So there are smaller towns kids that don't have the opportunity to actually learn from professional coaches. So they join the Milo e-coaching and we have sessions with them virtually. And we can also see a progress in them over the 5 weeks through Milo e-coaching program.
Nice. Now, I want to turn my attention to the questions that has been already popping up ever since we started talking, Daphne, and perhaps just address them in no particular order. Perhaps I'll start with Abu's question, which is in Malay. Pada pandangan kamu, siapa yang layak ataupun bakal menjadi Lee Chong Wei 2.0? So just to translate that into English for our overseas audience, in your opinion, who will probably be taking over the mantle of Dato' Lee Chong Wei and become the next Lee Chong Wei 2.0 per se?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are all talking about Lee Zhiqia. But let me share with you also, Dato' Mira Lee Chong Wei is a legend which we have also discussed with like Coach Misbun Side and a coach that coached him and other badminton coaches that Chong Wei is an icon himself. And I think players like Lee Zhiqia, Chang Junwei, they do not want to compare themselves with Lee Chong Wei because then they will feel they are not, no matter how much, it's so difficult to be at his level. Because like for Chong Wei, he was 9 years, I can't remember how many years of world number 1, but he's a legend. He's indeed a legend, and we probably need some time, maybe 10 years, 20 years to find another legend like him. Yeah. But I think our juniors are coming up, and they have actually showed themselves in the Olympics and also the Sudirman Cup lately. So Zijia is definitely a player that can be at the top in badminton, and we can see it through his results. He has beaten all the top players. In fact, I think they have shared virally on the internet. But we have to also be there to support him because he's in every way. Yeah, in every way, with the sports science team, mentally, psychologically, physically, and not only praise him or support him when he wins, but also, because sports is a game and it's very competitive. I said it in the earlier round. It's not that he is not there. We all need time to groom a player. He's still very young, energetic, and we hope that he can sustain and have a strong periodization plan towards the next Olympics. Yeah, so not to put so much pressure on him, then we have our men's doubles as well. Aaron and Wui are also very young and energetic, and we hope that the Olympic bronze medal is just a starting point for them. And build that confidence in them that they are world beaters and they can really lift up their potential to be like our other men's double champions before, like Wee Kyung and Goh Wei San. They are great players. Hu Ken Kiat and Tam Boon Hyung, of course, and a few other former national and legends as well. Yep.
Perfect. Now, moving on to the next question. This is from Shafiq. Perhaps I'm going to combine the two questions from Shafiq and Shima, right? So Shafiq asks, what are your hopes for Malaysian badminton players in the future? That's one. And number two, what can we do to improve, women, I suppose, badminton players in Malaysia? So we always kind of see that limelight being shined on, the male players, the singles and even the doubles. Of course, our mixed doubles, the famous pair has always gotten that sort of a limelight as well, simply because they've also been winning and stuff like that. But what about the female players, right? They get the wrong kind of limelight. I don't want to bring up the recent issue that we had with our Thomas Cup player, but how can we improve the women players? And then in future, what are your hopes for badminton players in the future?
Yeah, so sports as whole, right? Of course, man dominates it. That means like everybody's perspective on sports is a man's sport, But then slowly, like today, women are coming up, and a lot of gender equality has been achieved until today. That last time, the prize money for men and women, there are big differences, but then today they are both the same. Yeah. So, like for Malaysian women badminton team, similarly is the same. Back then, 15 years back then, I think the women's or girls' participation is not huge. It's not huge. There's just a number of girls that is active or even want to excel in sports, because it's a really tough sports like for badminton. But it's the good thing, as in like it's not a female dominant sport like gymnastics, figure skating. These are girls and female sports. So badminton is coming up, and the level of women players are actually coming up as well. That's why previously we have Goh Jin Wei. She's the only Malaysian to win the Youth Olympic Games 2 times. Yeah, and she won the World Junior Championships, and an upcoming and talented player. But I think recently she resigned and she retired from badminton due to some health issues. Yeah, so we actually have the talent, and I always say that it takes everyone to build a sporting nation, for example, a sporting nation, or to build success in badminton. It's not only the player itself. The coach plays a big role, parents play a big role, the management team plays a big role, the sponsors play a big role, the community plays a big role. Everybody plays a role in grooming a pyramid of players. So like just now, there was one question that you asked me, what is my hope for Malaysian badminton? My hope for Malaysian badminton is to build a cylinder of players, of good players. So, badminton participation is always like a pyramid. That means learn to play, we have a huge number of population that learn to play. Everybody is excited because they say, badminton is a Malaysian sport. I want you to be Lee Chong Wei. Let's sign up for badminton. That's amazing. I love that too. Yeah. So we have a lot of participation for learn to play, but slowly it's going up like a pyramid like that. So when we come to the national level, it's getting lesser and lesser players that are competing at that level. But if we can open up or space out with it, if we cannot have a cylinder, probably a not so sharp kind of ending, then we don't have that many players to play, to select from. And that's how we can actually lift the level of badminton in Malaysia.
Wonderfully said, Daphne. Now, moving on to the next question from Jonathan. Is it important to make the game easier for kids play and win at the start as a means to generate interest towards the game, or should the game be presented as how it's supposed to be played? So I suppose the question is perhaps asking, you know, should we make it easier for them to feel like, oh, it's easy to win and excel in that sport, so that the interest level sustains throughout childhood in that sense, and then, you know, later on it would, or you know, should it be whatever it is today, you know, they win, they lose, they win, they lose?
I think it's good to let them have the sense of victory or winning. Then they will look forward to even train harder and to win more. But at the same time, you don't win all the time. You can't still give them a medal although they lose. So even in defeat, you learn something. Yeah. So it's good at the start to encourage them, and when they achieve something after hard work, like for example, service. Service is one of the most difficult things for a kid to learn, for example, because they drop the shuttle themselves and it's a timing to hit. Yeah. And they definitely need to practice for some time in order to get that coordination to get it. Correct. So if they successfully do a serve to a designed area or a goal, and then I think it's something good to celebrate. But of course, you don't throw parties and make it really big. But a sense of a rewarding session, or maybe an ice cream, or something like that to encourage the kid better. Yeah, and yeah, to also let them feel defeat, to learn and come back stronger. I think we learn most when we lose, rather than you keep winning and thinking that you are the best and giving justification every time you lose. Then I think that's not very healthy for the sport and for yourself, for your personal growth as well.
Okay, great. Now, it's funny you mentioned just now where you required an entire ecosystem of people to come together and give support and play their roles in terms of making sports, not just badminton, but sports in general, better in Malaysia. Which then leads to my, well, not my question, but leads to one of our viewers' question here from Terence that says, "Hi all, got a question. Should politicians be involved in sports management?" Now.
Yeah, so this is I think in Malaysia settings, BAM play a big role in the development of players. That means in Malaysia, we don't run as a club system. So like in Thailand, Indonesia, Korea, it's through club. You can represent Malaysia through club itself. That means you can, when your ranking is high, you can still play in the highest level of competition. Yep. But then in Malaysia, the culture or the platform is always through club, and club to the state team to the national, and from the national, they select players for Sudirman Cup or for Thomas Cup or for Yupa Cup. Whereas in Indonesia, it's a different system. Indonesia, they are all training in their own clubs. And when they have big tournaments, they will gather there, and then they represent Indonesia. Yeah. So it's two different systems. And this is a system that back then, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, this is the system that Malaysia is practicing. Yeah. So I think it is part of the sports management to have this. And even back then, 2-3 years ago, I think they are also trying to fight for club system to work. That's why we have Purple League, if you know.
Purple League, yes.
Purple League, yeah. So that's how actually they have different teams and different sponsors for each team. And they are fighting so hard for Malaysia to actually have a club system for badminton. But until today, it is still BAM is still in control of the development of players.
Okay. Now,
I mean, there's always pros and cons. Because if you are training in the club, then the club has to be strong enough that the club must be sustainable. It's not actually cheap. Yeah, it's not cheap actually to sustain daily training, competitions, and to provide accommodation and everything else for a team of players. Yeah, so it's so somehow BAM is still partly funded by the government also. It's not fully just privatized. Yeah, so we need that help to also help support the sport at this point of time.
Okay, so I suppose it's easy for me to say this now, but you know, there is funding from government per se. Why not run it like a Purple League where they all go into clubs and that funding gets channeled to the respective clubs in that sense? Now, it's funny because you mentioned Thailand, Korea, Japan and whatnot has that system, and even Indonesia for that matter. And these are literally 4 big names that you have just mentioned in badminton, right? I for one, think that these countries have, you know, surpassed Malaysia in terms of you know, having a strong squad. I'm not saying just individual players. So, you know, we may have individual players or doubles players who may be a little bit better than some of the players in those countries. But as a collective group, those countries has already surpassed Malaysia. And it's very obvious to see that they're already using a different system per se. Why are we not following that then? Again, of course, you mentioned about funding and whatnot, right? I totally get you, but I suppose this is obviously another discussion in a different forum altogether, but you know, just food for thought. I think that, you know, that the system currently is definitely flawed in that sense. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it takes time to change, and I think I'm not at the standpoint to let you know why it doesn't work, but it also takes time to change that, because we also need sponsors to come in, and sponsors cannot expect to have the results over a time of 1 year.
Yep. And
I think there's a lot of understanding and giving a chance for these clubs to grow. Yeah, so, yep. So hopefully we can have that opportunity to also ride on that and develop more players through that way.
Okay, final question from me. What are your thoughts on Rexy Mainaki coming back to coach in Malaysia?
Coach Rexy is a great coach, and he has actually helped our men's doubles team, Phu Keng Kiat and Tan Boon Hyung, to win the Asian Games and All England, I think, and a lot of prestigious games during his time back then in Malaysia. Mm-hmm. And he has also showed great results in Thailand. He was in Thailand actually, like before taking up this new role in Malaysia. And the Thailand girls actually entered finals in the Super Cup for the very first time, and Thailand badminton has actually grown quite a bit, even in the men's team. Yeah, even in the men's team.
Yes.
And his role back here in Malaysia, I think it is really good for us because badminton is not only just about performance, but also strategies and game plan, and we need a leader or someone to actually plan further. That means look at things beyond. And with his experience as an Olympic gold medalist and his years of coaching, now I think he's coming back not as a coach but as a director. I think coaching director. So he'll be overlooking the whole setup with Wong Chun Han. Yeah, with Chun Han. Yeah. So hopefully we can do better than what we have achieved.
Okay. Yep. So definitely exciting times ahead for Malaysian badminton, I'm sure.
Yep. Yep.
Great. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, that's all the time we have with Daphne. Obviously, she will be back to coaching again at Duo Sparks, you know, as the kids get off online classes and whatnot later in the afternoon. So we do not want to take up more of her time. But Daphne, once again, thank you so much for making time for Rejuvenate Edition 5. It's been a real pleasure speaking with you and getting so much of insights into badminton, into the coaching aspects of it, into the playing aspects of it, and most importantly, into the mindset of it as well. And ladies and gentlemen, just a kind reminder to you, the next time you want to troll a badminton player of ours, you know, you better think twice before you do anything silly, because to be honest with you, it's not easy. It's not, it is absolutely not easy at all to become a professional badminton player representing your country. So there are a lot of aspects that we have to think about and to consider before we even want to say something to any of those players in that sense. So I do hope you also enjoyed the session as much as I did. And you know, do stay on, because we do have Filippo Levy from New Zealand who will be dialing in to us at about 1 p.m. and then we will have Larissa Maloney from the US at 2:30 p.m. So 2 more exciting sessions before we call it a day or a month for edition 5, but it's really been fantastic so far. Once again, Daphne, thank you so much for joining us here at Rejuvenate.
Thank you. Thanks, Andrew. You're a great host. And thanks for tuning in and joining us.
All right. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye. Stay safe.
Take care. Bye. See you.